Welcome to the AI Brief, episode 321. We have a really crucial deep dive for you today. We're looking at this huge paradox in artificial intelligence. You've got the top labs pushing this incredibly aggressive, world-changing timeline for superintelligence, but then, the vast majority of companies, they're kind of bogged down, really struggling to even get AI past the pilot stage.
Yeah, it's like a two-speed future unfolding right now. We really need to bring together those very forward-looking predictions about breakthroughs with let's say, the cold, hard reality check on how companies are actually doing today.
Exactly. So our mission here is to map out both of these timelines. We'll kick off with OpenAI's specific safety ideas, driven by their, frankly, accelerated timeline for AI progress. Then we pivot to the ground-level data from McKinsey. Why is enterprise AI adoption stalling for so many? And importantly, what are the few high performers doing differently? And finally, we'll touch on the market shifts, the regulatory movements, and connect all that volatility back to the massive costs involved in this AI race. Okay, let's jump straight into that future timeline. OpenAI is calling for global coordination, and it's based on some incredibly aggressive predictions. What specifics are they putting out now about the pace of scientific progress?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is how they're trying to map out intellectual performance itself.
Yeah.
They're now projecting that AI systems could start making small but genuine scientific discoveries maybe by 2026,
Yep.
and then accelerating towards significant, really breakthrough discoveries by 2028.
Right, but hang on. We've heard fast timelines before. Is there any new economic data backing this up, or is it just, more hype?
It seems driven partly by economics, specifically the cost of compute. They're expecting the actual cost of intelligence to drop by a staggering 40 times per year. And this isn't just about faster chips, it's also massive increases in how efficient the models are and access. And to ground this a bit in the present, they estimate current systems are already like 80% of the way to an AI researcher in terms of capability. They're noting AI can already beat top humans in certain complex intellectual tasks. So that gap, it's shrinking incredibly fast.
Okay, the speed of that timeline versus the safety recommendations, that's where the real tension seems to be. If superintelligence is potentially coming that quickly, what concrete safety measures is OAI actually recommending to manage risks like, I don't know, bioweapons or these runaway self-improvement loops?
Yeah, OAI definitely recognizes that the complexity here demands global collaboration with governments, with existing safety agencies. They outline three sort of non-negotiable pillars. First is enforce safety standards across the top labs globally. The second, and this is maybe the most complex bit, is building what they call a resilience ecosystem.
A resilience ecosystem. What exactly does that mean for AI risk? How's that different from, say, standard cybersecurity?
It's broader. Traditional cybersecurity is mostly about protecting data, protecting infrastructure from outside attacks, right? This resilience ecosystem idea is much wider. It focuses on modeling, predicting, and mitigating systemic failures within the AI itself. Think catastrophic errors, misuse, or those rapid runaway behaviors that could cause real-world harm. It needs a whole new framework for thinking about existential risk. And the third pillar is just ongoing real-time tracking of AI spread and impact, so public policy can actually try to keep pace with tech that's moving faster than any government bureaucracy typically does. Now let's pivot sharply. If that's the future they're preparing for, what's the reality right now? McKinsey's State of AI 2025 survey looked at nearly 2,000 organizations. And the data paints a very different picture from Silicon Valley.
Right. The first number sounds good on the surface.
Right.
88% of companies say they use AI somewhere, so adoption looks high. But here's the massive reality check. Only 33%, just a third, are actually scaling AI enterprise-wide. The huge majority are basically stuck in pilot or experimentation mode.
And the impact on the bottom line, minimal for most. While, 39% reported some kind of positive earnings impact, the actual size of that impact is disappointing. Only a tiny fraction, just 6%, achieved a concrete EBIT impact of 5% or more from their AI work, which, raises a big question for any leader listening. If you're adopting the tech, why isn't the money following?
And the answer seems to lie with that small group, the high performers, that 6% who saw a real positive impact. The lesson they offer is pretty critical. The real value from AI isn't just from finding simple one-off efficiency gains, like automating one single task.
Absolutely. The success stories show it takes strategic transformation. It means actively redesigning how work gets done. For instance, instead of just automating an old human review process step by step, they're using AI to power, say, a parallel creation and validation loop. It fundamentally changes how work happens across multiple functions. They aren't just automating the old ways, they're building entirely new processes, really focused on innovation and growth.
We're also seeing the very, very early stages of AI agents on the ground. The survey found 62% of companies are working with agents, but yeah, it's early days. Only 23% are actually scaling them, mostly for the low-hanging fruit in IT and knowledge management.
And this scaling effort, it does come with a potential workforce cost. About a third of companies, 32%, expect they'll need workforce reductions of 3% or more in the coming year. Interestingly, larger firms are actually more likely to predict these cuts. It suggests that those initial phases of scaling AI across the enterprise are, well, highly likely to involve some tough headcount decisions.
That corporate inertia plus the huge cost of scaling, it's clearly spooking the market. Speaking of those costs, let's look at how Wall Street's reacting. If you've been watching the markets, you definitely saw massive volatility recently. The tech sector took a near $1 trillion nosedive in market cap.
And this volatility was incredibly focused. 8 major AI-linked stocks, NVIDIA, Meta, Palantir, included they collectively lost $800 billion. Even Microsoft, which is arguably leading the charge, shed about $350 billion. Investors weren't just nervous about the spending itself, I think. They're questioning the fact that this historic spending, Microsoft's quarterly AI spend hit $34.9 billion, hasn't yet translated into obvious, immediate, equivalent revenue growth, leading to big questions about the timeline to profitability.
But then, on the flip side of that volatility, we saw a huge strategic win, one that really highlights where value still lies in tech distribution. I'm talking about that major partnership between Snap and Perplexity.
Oh yeah, that's a game changer for Perplexity. Snap signed a $400 million deal, mixed cash and equity, to integrate Perplexity's AI search engine right into Snapchat. That instantly gives the AI startup exposure to Snap's, 900 million plus users? The market saw the value immediately. Snap's shares shot up 15% on the news. It really shows that user access, platform integration, that's still the most valuable currency in tech, even with bleeding-edge AI.
And over in Europe, we're seeing maybe some regulatory flexibility, perhaps in response to corporate pressure. Europe is reportedly easing up on parts of its big AI Act.
That's right. They're proposing a significant one-year grace period for companies that breach the high-risk parts of the law, and they're delaying fines for transparency violations. This comes after direct warnings from big tech companies, Meta included, who basically argue that super strict rules risk cutting Europe off from the best AI services. It's sort of a recognition, maybe, that regulation needs to be adaptive, not purely punitive, especially when you're dealing with foundational models that evolve so quickly.
Okay, let's quickly cover some key infrastructure and platform developments driving things. Google introduced the file search tool.
Yeah, this is a major efficiency boost for enterprise clients. It's a fully managed Archie system, retrieval augmented generation. Why does that matter? Because it removes a massive headache for enterprises, managing custom data pipelines, ensuring data security, just to ground their Gemini models with their own private data. It simplifies a really complex but critical step for deployment.
Meanwhile, OpenAI is looking at the sheer cost of running all this hardware. They're lobbying the Trump administration to expand the CHIPS Act tax credit.
And they want that tax credit to cover more than just chip making. They want it for AI data centers, the specialized servers, even the electrical grid components needed. They're basically arguing the entire compute and power infrastructure should be seen as a national strategic asset, just as critical as the chips themselves.
Google also beefed up its Vertex AI agent builder, adding things like sophisticated context management, single command deployment, better observability features. This is all about making it easier for enterprise clients to build and deploy complex, reliable agents.
And OpenAI expanded developer access to codecs. They launched a cheaper GPT-5 Codex Mini, gave a 50% boost to rate limits, and offered priority processing for pro and enterprise users. That's a clear play to capture smaller, more cost-sensitive development teams.
Finally, just connecting back to the workforce reality again. In the UK, even though firms are planning average 3% pay raises next year, 1 in 6 still expect AI to reduce headcount, some significantly. That data points to the weakest hiring outlook they've seen since the pandemic, suggesting the expectation of AI efficiency gains is already hitting hiring decisions right now. We often wrap up with a list of trending tools, but maybe let's just focus on the two biggest implications for power users right now. First, that major competitive move from XAI.
Right. XAI's lighter, faster model, Grok 4 Fast, got this massive upgrade to a 2 million token context window. That is a huge competitive move.
Mm.
For users, that means a vastly improved ability to analyze, say, entire books, dense code bases, huge data sets, all in a single prompt without losing the thread. It really pushes the boundary for long-form synthesis.
And we also saw a key update around IP and tracking. Sora 2, OpenAI's video AI, is now adding watermarks that include specific account IDs.
Yeah, that's critical for a couple of reasons. One, it helps verify the content is AI-generated, which you need for combating deepfakes. But second, embedding the account ID means they can potentially trace the origin of any misused or unauthorized content right back to the user. It's a definite step towards accountability in generative media. So, if we tie this all back to the big picture, we've synthesized these really aggressive predictions of major breakthroughs, maybe by 2028, and this ground-level reality where most organizations are just stuck in pilot mode, not seeing real impact. This raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener. What happens when that exponential speed of AI development inevitably crashes into the, frankly, necessary slowness of organizational change? Is our preparation focus only about global regulation and managing these huge catastrophic risks? Or is the most urgent challenge actually accelerating how quickly traditional organizations can adapt, can scale this tech, and fundamentally redesign how they operate?
That's a brilliant synthesis, really connecting those futuristic warnings with the tough present day corporate struggle, and the perfect thought to carry forward from this deep dive. If you found these insights valuable today, please do follow the AI brief and maybe share this with someone else who wants to stay ahead of the curve. We'll be back soon with more insights from the cutting edge of